One of the most important things that I have learned in my own spiritual evolution, my own growth, is that I don't have to suffer in order to grow. And I'll explain what I mean. This is Eddie with a Mindful Emergence, where Margaret and I offer simple steps that you can use to get unstuck and access your own inner resources by using mindfulness, movement, and breathing practices. So, what do I mean? Well, here's the reality. Our wellness, our quality of life is not determined by what happens in life, but more in terms of how we relate to it. How do we interpret it? There's a quote that's been attributed to the Buddha that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Well, that wasn't the Buddha that said that. And I, in the description below, listed who that quote is actually attributed to. But what the Buddha taught was that all suffering begins in the mind. And it begins by, or occurs by, how we interpret situations. Let me give you an example. Perhaps when we were young, we were attacked and bitten by a black dog. And it was very traumatic, as it's understandable. It was a horrible experience. And so moving through life, every time we saw a black dog, we freaked out. We froze. We went into fight or flight. We went into a story about how this is going to be horrible. And the reality of it is that subsequent black dogs that we encounter may not have been a threat at all. So that reaction, that suffering, that freaking out was up here. It was how we interpreted the situation. Now, it may be really understandable that we might go into fight or flight, that the amygdala in our brain goes, oh no, this is terrible, because what it's trying to do is protect us. But that's not reality. The reality is we don't have to react in that way to every black dog that we see. So what can we do in that kind of situation? What I encourage you to do, what I've learned to do for myself, is to pause, breathe, and feel into my body and ask myself, what's going on inside my body right now? What am I feeling? So in that situation, it might be fear. In others, it might be sadness, or it might be anger, or it might be jealousy. Depends on the situation, right? Well, these emotional reactions, they show up in the body as energy, but it's how we interpret it, okay? And if we can pause, feel into the sensation, and then ask ourselves, what am I telling myself about this situation? What's the story that I've created in my mind? And is that true? Do I know that it's true? And how can I replace that thought with something else that's more reflective of reality? But it's very, very difficult to do that if we don't pause and breathe, feel into our body, and notice our thoughts. Another example that I give in the description is perhaps we lost a parent or loved one suddenly when we were a child. And so we tell ourselves, if I get close to somebody, then I'm just going to lose them. So I'm not going to get close to anyone. I actually had experience where I dated someone a long time ago whose father had left, abandoned the family. And it was very difficult to have a relationship with this person because they feared if there was emotional vulnerability that, and they got close to me, that I was just going to abandon them just like her father had. And eventually over time, hopefully, she has found, worked through that and found relationships and understood that just because you get close to somebody doesn't mean they're going to suddenly abandon you like her father did. So there are so many examples of this kind of thing. So I really encourage you to start developing the practice of tuning in, noticing what you're feeling, notice what you're telling yourself about that experience, and see if you can start reframing how things go so that you don't have to be in reactivity constantly. So I hope that's helpful. We upload videos twice a week. And if you like this video, please hit that little like button. If you want to get future videos, because we do 2 of them every week, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And of course, we love to get comments. So anything that you have to say, drop it in the comment below and I'll make sure I respond.